Okay, so shall we get any questions, about this, or where are we? So we can always get into some, as small groups, so you can always get into some practical kind of aspects to convert the general ideas into more, specific type of understanding. Yeah, of course, yeah.
Meg szeretném kérdezni, hogy most ez nem a gyerkőccel kapcsolatos, hanem nekünk már szülőknek. Például én hüvelykgyulladásom már a férjemnek a sok emelgetéstől, meg nem tudom mitől, hogy azzal tudunk valamit kezdeni ugyanezekkel a módszerekkel.
És a karpózalom az például,
Kárpátonál.
The parents
after lifting too much or doing too much exercises, they can have inflammation here in the tendons.
Well, okay, that's one of those kind of, well, let's put it like this, right? Is that if we are, it's a difference between lifting too much, doing too much, and what exactly you're doing. So the point is actually quite simple, right? Is that if we are looking truly at working with the weak elements, right? So then we want to zoom and optimize ourselves in such a way that there is a minimal effort on your side, right? But
ugye azt nézzük, hogy a gyenge részekkel foglalkozunk, úgy kéne kialakítani a dolgokat, hogy a mi oldalunkon is minél kevesebb ilyen legyen.
So this question kind of comes into this understanding that, well, no one prepares you to carry this type of very special job, being a caregiver for the child with, the spasticity and all these other tricky, both sensory and mechanical components.
Senki nem készít ezeket arra, hogy ilyen gyerekeket akár olyan is ellássunk.
So, there are three big points, right? The point number one is that you want to optimize your technical skills, right? Point number two, when it comes to transfers and any kind of transitions of this kind, you also have to do it in a smart way rather than trying to just do the brute force, kind of in the... And, well, the reality is, right, is that a lot of it comes with the other side of the Paralympic part, right, is the self-sacrifice mentality.
A másik az a paralimpiai mentalitás, egy másik oldal az az önfeláldozó mentalitás.
And so, okay, I mean, if, you see it with everything. You see how people just rush and jump, taking a child out of the wheelchair or placing and so on. So, you have to be smart, right? And get the right positioning, don't rush, get the proper approach, get yourself properly ready and so on, because the same story. If you do certain transitions like several hundred times a day, it makes sense to develop good habits, right? Analyze your own activity, what are the most kind of difficult type of the transitions and so on. And specifically practice the skill, See, again, everybody is in this, well, I mean, I can do it, right?
mindenkit, úgy gondolja, hogy ő rá pedig meg tudja csinálni.
But at some point you arrive to the situation that
amikor jön ez a helyzet, hogy
I can't do it anymore, and now this hurts, this hurts, this hurts, what do you do?
ez fáj, most mit csinálják?
So that comes to point number 3.
De a harmadik ponthoz jutunk,
Set a certain time budget for your own self-care.
hogy saját karbantartásodra is időt kell szállni.
And that's the other part of being smart about it, right? Is that you understand that you're in the long run, and then just approaching, that's a kind of a big umbrella there.
Okos módon ugye hosszú távra a nagy képet nézve kell készülni.
No drama, just math, like just statistics, math, skills, and so on.
Matek, statisztika és
So just with a drop of emotion rather than, emotion fueling the whole thing, right? So that's really the thing.
meg egy mozdulatot, mint egy olyan mozdulat, ami egy csomó következmény.
I mean, I understand that people come with, as parents, you come with different personalities and so on and so forth, but,
Mindenkinek más a személyisége is szülőként.
this is just one of those things that I have been, in this field, right, so for 27 years, right?
27 éve vagyok tevékeny ezen a területen.
So obviously I've observed like several thousands of parents and families
Több ezer szülőt és családot figyelhettem már meg.
on all continents except the Antarctic. And the thing is that surprisingly, people repeat exactly the same mistakes.
Tehát az emberek mindenhol ugyanazokat a hibákat követik.
And it's exactly the same mistakes that happen whether you are in United States, Chile, South Africa,
Chilében, USA-ban, Dél-Afrikában,
I don't know. So it's the same.
ugyanaz.
So, and what I'm sharing here is actually not even so much my opinions, but more, observing
Nem a véleményemet akarom itt,
the troubles and observing those
hanem azt, hogy megfigyelve ezeket a problémákat.
types of the situations when the parents manage it successfully, you basically just share the results of your observations and experiences. Well, guys, this is what works,
Mi az, ahol a szülők ezt jól oldották meg, és ő csak megosztja a megfigyeléseinek az eredményét, hogy gyerekek, ez ott jól működik.
It might require certain mental, reshuffling and resetting. I know it's not automatic, it's not kind of straightforward to begin with,
Nem magától értetődő, mentálisan kicsit át kell állni.
because, you're all emotional driven, you're getting into this situation with this kind of, with this self-sacrifice mentality.
Érzelmileg vezéreltek vagyunk nagy mértékben, és ez magával hozza ezt az önfeláldozó attitűdöt.
But the whole point is to minimize the number of the daily emergencies, right? So it's just kind of, that's really the logic. We're saying, okay, that's the day has this like 1,000 active minutes, right? In this 1,000 active minutes, you should do it, like build it in such a way that 950 minutes are managed through certain systems and managed in a system in a kind of clever and robust way. And then you have those 30, 50 minutes when you need to apply some greater emotional engagement or whatever, some self-push.
Ennek a 1000-ből 925 percre egy ilyen jó bejáratott rendszert kell kialakítani, és a maradék kisebb részén lehet valamiféle ilyen megfeszített dolgokat csinálni.
And that's the only way.
Ez az egyetlen.
Just being systematic and then knowing your numbers, right? Knowing your numbers, you've got that 1,000 minutes a day to manage.
Tudjad a számokat, tudjad a számaidat, hogy ez 1000 perced van, amit
And you look at it and say,
rendezni.
okay, I have, wherever you are, you are in a difficult situation and say, well, okay, maybe I have like 700 difficult minutes and 300 sort of okay minutes, right?
Lehet, hogy te úgy érzed, hogy neked 200 nehéz és 300 úgy jó, hogy rendben lesz.
And you look at it and say, oh, geez, so then this task looks absolutely insurmountable.
Akkor ez egy ilyen
And
megoldhatatlan feladatnak.
the only way to deal with it is say, okay, you know what? Don't get into the big thing and ask yourself a much simpler question. Say, okay, you know what? What within my 300 reasonable minutes can I add another 50 not so bad minutes on top of it, right? And then, your total proportion then goes from 300 and 700 becomes 350 and 650.
Tehát ne az egész nagy problémát akarjuk megoldani, hanem az a 300 percet, akkor próbáljuk meg 350-re fölbővíteni, és akkor a 300-700-ra ugye 350.
In the beginning, it's not going to feel like you've done something big, say,
nagy dolognak.
But then,
De aztán
from 350, you're going to get 400 good minutes.
350-ről föl tudsz menni 400-ra.
And that's how you gradually shift it, right?
És így lehet fokozatosan átváltani.
And of course, it's not difficult not to lose it, right? So you see, for instance, your current situation with, why did he get this diarrhea? Nobody knows, right?
Persze ezt nehéz tehát ezt el is lehet veszíteni, ő esetében se tudjuk, hogy...
So creates the emergency situation, and then, there's some switch in you that
Jön egy vészhelyzet, és akkor
puts you into this emergency mode, and you start handling everything in the emergency
és
mode.
akkor minden vészhelyzetként kezelsz.
But you cannot last in the emergency mode.
De úgy nem tudsz túl sokáig működni.
Right? So you see emergency mode, if the emergency mode is there for a week, it's okay. But if the emergency mode lasts 2 weeks or 4 weeks, everybody gets drained.
És mindenkit leszít.
So that's why it's really essential, like always kind of double check and so on, and that's what I'm saying, like get in touch, because your natural tendency is just to jump into the, like really boom, go into the emergency mode, and then it becomes this kind of wheel spinning action.
Hogy ráugrasz a dolgokra, és akkor hajtasz.
So it's important to get those kind of reset points and say, okay, that's kind of the new situation. Let's see what we can take off, the sort of soft ends of it and get this and this and this, and then, gradually move there. Of course, and then the more difficult the emergency situation becomes for you, the more you're saying, you just dream that tomorrow you wake up and then, that goes away as a bad dream. It doesn't work like this.
Tehát apránként tudod kipucolni ezeket a dolgokat, nem lesz olyan, hogy volna fölébredsz és ügyelgálnak a nehéz helyzetben.
So, caregiving for the child with this level 4 and 5 condition, puts you into a very much like the frontier of the parenting performance, when you really can't brave it. You have to, bravery has to be just like a sauce and the spice. It cannot be the main dish,
4-es 5-ös szintű gyerekek szüleinek lenni, ez ugye a szülőségnek a határterülete erősen, ahol a bátorsággal nem lehet mindent megoldani, egy kicsi kell belőle, de nem azt kell, hogy dominálja.
And that's essential, and that's why I'm saying, guys, always, whenever you face any troubles, get back to us, right? Because you see, again, I am the beneficiary of this, almost 30 years of experience, and those, thousands of families that I've observed through the bad and through the good things, right?
Azt kérem, hogyha olyan problémákkal találkozom, amiről beszélsz, nyugodtan gyere vissza hozzá, és ő meg tudja osztani a megfigyeléseit.
And one of the key points is that I can always provide you with first the variety of options, and second with this kind of reset of the, resetting the clock.
Tehát ahol mindig tud segíteni, hogy több opciót fölkínáljon, és ezt a órát átállítsa.
Because first you think, that it happens, you think, okay, maybe it's for a day, then you say, okay, it's for a week,
Ugye először azt gondolod, hogy ez egy napig tart, utána az, hogy egy hét.
and then suddenly, you wake up 2 months later and say, oh, it's been 2 months, and now everything is in the complete disarray, he can't go to school, you can't touch him, and so it's like...
Se iskolába menni, se semmi.
So that's the reality of the situation, and that's why the smart management is really essential, right? It's not.
Valós helyzet is ezért fontos a okos elrendezése a dolgok.
And that's why I keep, trying to bring you to this kind of rational, systematic mode and saying, okay, guys, it's all. The only way to deal with it is to work with the small elements and keep moving the small elements. It's like move into this milliscope, right? It's not a day, it's 1,000 active minutes, right?
Itt is azt mondja, mint az előadáson, hogy ezt nem nagy dologra törekedjetek, hanem a kicsi léptékekben próbáljátok megoldani, ne egy napot nézzetek, hanem az 1000 percet.
It's not 5 meters, it's their milliseconds of control.
Tehát nem 5 méter, hanem úgy millisekundumonként hogyan vezérled.
It's not one big muscle, it's those are like centimeters that is built up.
Tehát ez nem egy hosszú izom, hanem valami, amit centis darabokból áll.
And then what happens once you zoom in, then suddenly you get a lot more options.
És ha belezumolsz, akkor sokkal több lehetőséget vesz hirtelen.
Because otherwise, boom, you find yourself into some strange crossbreed between the tight tunnel and the, what's the name of it, the hamster wheel, right?
Tehát akkor egyszer csak ilyen furcsa helyzetbe találsz, hogy ilyen szűk alagútban mókuskerékbe rohangálni.
Hamster wheel or the squirrel wheel, they kind of, I remember, this thing really impressed me in the kindergarten, right? So we had this hamster, whatever. He would just do it with this enormous enthusiasm, moving nowhere, and just like. And then just bing, But the hamster has the opportunity to jump up and eat and then fall asleep, right? So put some more, food into the cheeks. So, and you are, unlike that hamster, you are in the hamster wheel, but seemingly with the doors closed, But again, the only way to do it is you can't jump over it, but you can gradually slow it down, and that comes by opening those milli perspectives. And then it doesn't seem like much at first, the second day, first week, second week, 10th week, but then, in a space of a few months, you see that things are getting more stable, controllable, consistent, and then, the whole pressure goes off. And it's important to be able to reset yourself, right? Because of course, in your situation, right, troubles, then maybe a period, when things kind of start picking up, and then boom, you've got the crisis. Again. And then you are in the crisis management, and so that's the thing. Yeah, the crisis is the nature of the situation, but that's what you want. You want to minimize the crisis and actually get as much as possible the stable systems. And that's the point, right? That's what I always, when I hear about people trying to push the Paralympic agenda, you need to do this and more. That's moving you away from this kind of fabric of reality and from just
eltávolítja a
cooling things off, de-dramatizing it.
Hogy ugye
No drama.
megoldjunk drámát, eltávolítsuk az életünkből.
Cool down, get the elements controlled, and then gradually shift your,
Nézzük az
you know,
életünk összetevőit.
improve your average good minutes, right? So you see, that's what you're looking at, right?
Átlagos percnek a színvonalát kell javítani.
So that's really, if we get back to the what is the quality of life, right? What is the good, happy life in this type of situation?
Mi a boldog élet, ugye mitől leszünk, érezzük magunkat jól.
You know, it's building the number of these good minutes when the
Jó
child
perceknek a számát kell növelni.
can experience that freedom to be himself without
Megtapasztalhassa azt, hogy a
facing
szabadságot, hogy
the
saját
conflicts from the body,
anélkül, hogy a testileg konfliktusba kerüljön.
which in turn gives you the possibility to also get detached and get some breathing room for yourself as well.
Is lehetővé teszi, hogy lekapcsolódj róla valamennyire, és legyen saját tered.
And then, you know, you can have some steady things, and then, you know, you can make little injections of whatever, either the sweets, you know, the desserts, and the spices, right?
És közébe tudod rakni a édesítőszert, fűszereket.
That's what it is. Yeah, again, just don't try to solve it all yourself. Right? Ask. Especially today, modern means of communication, right?
Most kérdezz nyugodtan a modern eszköz.
Instead of writing a 5-page email, you know, it's much simpler to do a half-a-minute
Csinálj egy fél
video and send it via WhatsApp, right? It's a huge time saver and, you know, makes it much easier.
mindenkinek könnyebbé teszi.
So you don't have to
Takarít meg.
like make creative essays and performance, right? Just take a phone and make a video and say, hey guys, you know, like how we can,
Fogd a telefont és készíts
what is the flexibility that we can get around this type of the situation?
Milyen rugalmas lehetőségünk vannak, hogy megoldjuk ezt a helyzetet. Mr. Question?
Ugyananyagilag, hogy annyit szerintem én 2 éve találkoztam az ABR-rel, tolmácsként vettem bele nehéz.
I met ABR 2 years ago with translation.
A foglalkozás folyamán látomos gyerekek,
He's doing the assessment.
Sajában korral és szemlősen hozzá.
Including mine,
Egy
doctor.
csinos gyermek, és most valósultunk itt a kurzuson, eltanuljuk a ötletünkről a részt, mi is, honnan.
We just participated in that course 2 days ago.
És úgy előzően szerettem volna mondani, aki
Just the background, the question is,
olvasva a Facebook oldalon, hogy
read on
akkor a gyerekeknek is hatásos ez a dolog. Az lenne a rövid kérdésem, hogy a akkor gyerekeknek azt mondanám, hogy éppen így fogalmazható testből indulunk ki, és spasztikusra indulunk test esetében.
Just for the down kids, the body is usually in a better shape than in a CP child.
Az idő periódusának a fejlesztésnek körülbelül ugyanannyi idő, vagy egy gyorsabb fejlesztés, egy utal kérdésben, hogy itt egy gyorsabb haladás lehet elérni.
The speed of transformation for a down child, is that slower or similar than to a CP child?
You know, there's
Because
a video made by Krista for the down kids.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And the face transformation, that's...
Okay, but yeah, the face transformation, it also depends on, okay, but look, if we get it here, right, into just this understanding which is kind of going to link a number of things together. So, you see, you've got this different components, right? So the
különböző összetevők.
emo, mental, and
Érzelmi, mentális,
visceral.
zsigeri,
What is this? That would be the positional,
testhelyzeti,
and let's say movement, right?
mozgás.
So, but within this, right, so you see you can also put that into the context which is related to the main sensory mapping.
Ezt össze lehet kapcsolni ugye az érzékelési térképpel.
And that's where you have the vestibular,
Azután ugye a egyensúlyrendszer,
that's the brain itself, you know, within the cranium and in space, right? So when you go on the spinning wheel, you're testing your, or, you know, on the, what's the name of the rides, right? So that's the roller coaster, that's when you're testing your vestibular performance,
ugye
right?
a pörgő, mi volt az hullámvasúton, amikor ugye az agyad érződő történik.
But then the vestibular also, so it includes the control and the relationship between the internal, external, that would be the eye,
Ilyen érzékeli a
ball
belső dolgokat,
versus vision,
a szemgolyó átás,
inner ear
a belső fül,
versus hearing.
hallás,
Then you get the surface sensitivity. That's kind of a 2D. That's a pure layering, right?
kétdimenziós testfelszínérzékelés.
And then this surface things, this is where you get things like the reactions, like goosebumps, you know, the perception of the wet and dry and so on. So that's a separate type of the perception itself.
Különböző érzékelések, mint például a nedvességérzékelés,
Then you get the proprio,
illetve a proprioceptikus, melyik testrészünk kép.
that will be the joints and the relative position, you know, the angular position, right? So you see that's the angular position in
A
space.
születeknél ugye, hogy milyen szögben állnak.
And then you're going to have to say the 3D depth, the depth perception, that will be the layers from the skin, you know, skin, fat, muscles and so on. That's the depth 3D.
Mélységben, tehát ugye befelé intézni.
And then it's going to be the 3D as a volume 3D, that's the oscillations, right? So you see when you feel yourself either shrunk or whatever, right? So you see that's, you know, the respiratory difficulties or the respiratory freedom, that will be this, you know, that will be the 3D.
Ugye az is háromdimenzióban érzed, hogy hogyan tágul a tested, vagy megy össze.
Now, the thing is that people with the, say, autistic or the Down syndrome thing, or mild SCP, right? So you see what they have?
Autisták, dánosok és az enyhébb CP-sek,
Their positional and movement control is better.
az ő testhelyzetűnek mozgási folyamataik jobban vannak.
But, you know, these basic sensory freedoms, they could be a big trouble.
De
For-
ettől még az érzékszerveik
Everybody.
érzékelési szabadságaik
You know?
zavartak lehetnek.
Each of those emotional can come in conflict with each of those five, you know, the mental tone can come in conflict with all of those five,
Mentális
the visceral can come in conflict with all these five and so
a
on.
zsigeri is mind az öttel konfliktusban lehet.
So in that sense, it's hard to say,
Ebben az értelemben nehéz azt mondani.
just like as a, like all around covering statement that, well, these ones are easier
hogy ezek,
and these ones are more difficult, right? Because
ezeket nehéz úgy általánosan kireszteni, hogy ezek könnyebbek, vagy ezek nehezebbek.
the easier and more difficult assumes that the fact that you've got this positional and movement situation, that kind of comes, you know, with automatic greater ease in all of those.
Tehát ugye az alsó kettő rendre azt gondolhatnánk, hogy a többi is jól jobb oldaliak.
This is not necessarily the
Most
case.
ekkor mondanánk azt, hogy jobb helyzetben vannak, de nem feltétlenül ez a helyzet.
You know, like a lot of autistic kids, for example, they move around.
Sok autista gyerek minden jól mozog.
You know, they could be incredibly strong physically.
Rendkívül erősek lehetnek fizikailag.